Welcome again to the New podcast and welcome to the round of 16. Let us discuss the four sets of games that played today, March 10th, 2026. I am going to start at St. James's Park in the match between Newcastle versus FC Barcelona. This ended one apiece, and a lot of people are acting surprised. I don't know why, because I am actually disappointed. The reason why I'm disappointed is because in my preview, I asked the question, can you take advantage of your opportunities if you are Newcastle? Because Barcelona will always give you those opportunities. I talked about how vulnerable that Barcelona defense is playing that high line. But I think the answer is no. Newcastle did not really take advantage of those opportunities because they have a lot of attacking situations where you could have expected them to score. But like I said, they did not. And that is the problem with this Barcelona team. When you fail to take those chances, it might come to hurt you. And it did because in the final seconds of the game, they considered a penalty, which, by the way, was a very foolish penalty to concede. When you're a defender and you're making a tackle, you swing your leg back, you're always at risk to commit a foul. Except if you're going to fake the tackle, move your leg back out of the way before the attacking player comes in. And most times, it will be called for a dive instead of a penalty. And that was why the penalty was conceded. And Lamine Yamal scored from the penalty spot. But I feel bad for Newcastle because in as much as Barcelona was going to get a lot of the ball, I think, in my opinion, for my eye test, I'm not going off of the statistics here, okay? Because even with that, it is a little bit subjective. But it is 54, which means Newcastle did very well with the possession. So I'm not going to go as far as to say Barcelona was dominant in terms of possession. They were not. All right. In terms of passes as well, the accuracy is almost the same. Yes, Barcelona completed more passes. Okay. But here is the deal. Why would I be concerned with an opponent passing the ball in their own half or even in my half, but it is not threatening? So again, I'm one of those fans that's not going to just go off of possession and passing. All right. You have to do a lot more. So when you go down and look at other areas of the stats, all right, that is where I feel like Newcastle was clearly the better team. Newcastle was the better team, and I'm not surprised because I said when you're playing against an EPL team, they will always bring that work rate. So I'm not surprised about the physicality that I saw. I'm not surprised about the intensity. I'm not surprised about the pressing. As a matter of fact, I said, hey, listen, it is a matter of choice as to when and where Newcastle should press because Newcastle always going to bring the pressing game to Barcelona and Barcelona will struggle to deal with that. And I said Barcelona will also struggle to deal with the pace of that Newcastle team. And we saw that. That is not going to disappear at all. In fact, that is the reason why Nick Voltemade did not start this game because Eddie Howe wanted to make sure he uses the pace of the Newcastle players because he knew that high line is always going to be a vulnerability when you're playing against this Barcelona team. And we saw how many attacking situations that were created between Elanga, Musula, and Harvey Barnes. At least they should have scored 2 or 3 or 4 against this Barcelona team. But again, like I said, they did not answer the question of can you take advantage of your opportunities because they clearly did not. And at the end of the day, it ended one apiece, like I said, and it is really disappointing. Newcastle will really feel bad. And my concern for them right now is their morale, all right? Because when you played a game like that so well and was so strong from the start to the end of the game, and you conceded a goal via a penalty, and that was a reckless tackle as well. If you're a defender and you're attempting to make a tackle by swinging your leg backwards, that is always risky, except if you're faking the tackle where you're pulling back and allowing the defender to just dive. Because in most cases, the attacker to dive. Because in most cases, attackers will always dive. As soon as you fake the tackle, they're going to fall for it. They will go down in the penalty area and then you will get free kick in your favor. But in this case, you cannot keep your leg. You're sticking your leg out backwards. You cannot keep it there. So that's a penalty, unfortunately, for them. I don't think they deserve to concede a goal like that in a game like that in a very very last seconds of the game. It is obviously disappointing, but they played well. And for me personally, I'm not surprised. Okay, I was expecting that. And I don't know, right? There are a lot of people that are putting so much respect on this Barcelona team. Now, is it a good team? Yes, it is. But the way people are talking about this Barcelona team and the way they're playing like that, God, they will meet proper teams in Europe, and it will be a problem. Going back to last season, they ran into Inter Milan, And they were, all right, you score, I score. You score, I score. Against Inter Milan. Where is Inter Milan this season? They're out. So Inter Milan is not even that kind of team. So if Barcelona had gone through difficult teams last season, I would say this: they would not have made it to the semifinals. But we'll find out at the Camp Nou. Now, do they have the advantage? Obviously, they do. They are home. But it depends on how Newcastle is going to approach that game. Because I tell you what, if Newcastle approach that game with, all right, we know we can press when we want to press, but there's no need to press them all the way up. So if they're playing high line, allow that defense to really get high up. Easy. Let them get high up. And once they do, you press them. Every area of the pitch, you win possession back, and then you're in transition. That is as simple as it is. Now, if that didn't work, then you have Nick Voltamati exploit the wings with your pace, put the crosses in the box, and then let Nick Voltamati go to work. So that's another option. So this tie is wide open. And I Camp Nou, the longer it goes, the more Barcelona will be under pressure, because if you concede to Newcastle, it could be a problem. So you have to come out and play. And with the pace of that Newcastle team, they will always be a difficult team to play, especially with the way Barcelona is playing. Now, Barcelona team can be a very, very good team, a very difficult team to beat, all right, if they're not playing a high line. But are they built enough to play any other system aside from that? That is the question. But let us keep it moving.